Hello, I'm Jason Bronowitz. I'm going to walk you through Notebook 1.1, your introduction to Python. So welcome to the course. Welcome to this assignment. This is your first Python notebook. And so by now you should have already installed Anaconda and been able to access Jupyter Notebook. So that is the first step. If you have not yet done so, follow this link and that will help you to go through it. In this course, we're asking you to follow the naming convention right here, Notebook 1-1, for each of the three notebooks that are assigned each week. What we're doing with these Monday, Wednesday, Friday deadlines is breaking up a larger problem into three parts. So typically we'll have a larger analysis due every Friday, but so that you get feedback throughout the week, both on Wednesday and on Monday, we break it into its smaller parts. So for instance, this first notebook is really about getting comfortable in Python, getting comfortable in Jupyter Notebooks, being able to install libraries that you'll need to do your analysis, starting to work with lists of creating a list in Python. Again, you're going to be doing this interacting with generative AI tools. So you'll be using the Claude 4 model that we share with you in the course, but you're welcome to try things out on any other model, ChatGPT, etc. You'll be able to do that, calculate some basic statistics like the mean, median, mode, standard deviation. Um, you'll be able to load in data sets. So at the start of the class, we're giving you all of the data files on a URL. So it's a link that you can just go out to my GitHub page and bring in this link without having to actually download the file yourself. So we encourage you to learn about different ways of downloading and reading in files into Python notebooks. And so feel free to also download the actual data set as a CSV file and try it out from your own machine as well. Um, and then we'll go into, as I mentioned, mean, median, and standard deviation. So that's really the basic for what we're asking you to do for this Friday. But we want to make sure that you have the basics right and you're able to get immediate feedback by going through and doing this assignment that we're going to do today, Notebook 1.1. At the end, you'll have your Jupyter notebook that you'll submit right here, actually. So down on the bottom of this page, when you're in the student view, it will give you a link to submit. So this is what you'll see here is you'll see start assignment, and then you'll upload your file right here. So that's the way that you'll do that. But you'll also then go in and take the quiz for this week. And when you take the quiz, that will give you, it'll automatically grade your answers from your notebook where you'll report certain values in. And so that way you'll get immediate feedback of, are you on the right track? So we really see this as one assignment, Notebook 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, but we're breaking it up into these weekly or beginning of the week Monday, middle of the week Wednesday, Friday, end of the week deliverables. So that way you can get feedback right away and you're not struggling on Friday with understanding some of the basic steps. You're able to tell us both to yourself and to me and Dr. Woodbury that you are on the right track or that you need extra help. Remember that we have office hours every day of the week, Monday through Friday. I also have my Calendly link, so you're welcome to schedule office hours in addition to those designated times that we have, but we do have office hours every day, every weekday for you already. And then just reach out if there are any things that we can help you with along the way. So what I recommend you do is to open up, I'm going to make my window like this so we can have two parts of the window. We can have, actually, let me go through. I'm going to change my screen sharing so you can see my whole screen. Let's do it this way. And so now we have our two windows side by side. I'm going to move the instructions over here and then have a second window for a few reasons here. First of all, I'll show you that if you click this link to the ASU chatbot, you'll then pull up the specific chatbot that we've created for you that is already trained on the project description. And so it knows what the assignment is for this week. Um, so you'll go in and right here is, as Dr. Woodbury showed you, where you'll type in your prompt. You can also attach files along the way. So if there's ever an output that you want to either screenshot or export the image, the graph, and show it to Claude in this case, you can do that and get feedback along the way. I'm going to go ahead and open Anaconda and show you what that looks like. So when you open Anaconda Navigator, you're going to see this here in real time. What you'll do is Anaconda will give you multiple options of which specific package you want to open up. I just close out of this. If you want, you can create an account. You don't have to. Anaconda has its own AI tools that you're welcome to use as well. But this here, Jupyter Notebook, is what you'll want to do. So you'll click on Launch right here. So when you click Launch, this will then open the terminal, as you've likely seen in the installation video. And then you'll get into your default folder, whatever your working directory is set to on here. And so you'll open up, I recommend using the course name here. So you'll open up the course name. I have last year's course and this year's course. So we'll open up this year's course in week 1. And then what you do to create a new file is you go up here to the right-hand corner to new, and you'll always click this Python 3 file. So this is opening up a new instance of Python as a Jupyter notebook for you. And then from here, you're able to go in and work on your assignment. So this is what you would do. You would click here. If you wanted to make a new folder, you can do that as well. So for instance, if you wanted to make a folder for each project, you can do that. Like for each module, you can do that here as well. I'm going to go in. You can rename. So we're calling this Notebook 1-1. And then you put your last name and first initial. I already have that file because I've made this, but I'm just going to call this -demo. So what you'll do is you'll go through these setup tasks, make sure that you take a look at this. One of the most important things here is we're asking you not just to rely on what the output that generative AI gives you, but to actually validate the accuracy of your results. Go through, make sure that what it's giving you is correct. You'll find that you'll get very, very accurate code almost all of the time. ChatGPT and other models are getting very, very powerful when it comes to coding. I find that they're still more powerful if you ask them to generate the Python code to do this, to run an analysis, than if you actually ask them to do the analysis itself. And as we get into larger data sets throughout the course, I encourage you to test that out. Sometimes try uploading the actual data file to ChatGPT or Claude or any of these other models, see what results it gives you. In almost every instance, I've had better luck by telling it about the data file that I have. So telling it about the structure, telling it what the file name is called, what the column names are called, helping it understand it without actually seeing the data. So you don't actually have to show your data to these models, these LLMs. You can explain it. You can tell it, okay, here's the column headers. In this case, for our first module, it's X and Y is what we're calling the first two data sets, the first two columns, and I'll actually show you here. Let's just open this one up so you can see. Let's pull it over here. We'll get rid of that in the instructions for you. So we have X and Y. This is the first row. So when you look at your data set, you're actually going to have to kind of visually inspect it to be able to tell ChatGPT or Claude what to do. So in this case, this is our first row of the data file, our CSV file. So it needs to know that this is a header. This is not a data point. The first data point is not X. X represents this first set of numbers. So the first observation, and you'll come back to this first observation, I'll ask you about it on Friday. The first observation, the X value of the first observation is 0.0. The second, sorry, the Y value, the second column, but for this first observation, this first row, is 11.5. So again, if I ask you what is the first observation, the first data point, it's this. This right here is just the header. So first observation, second observation, And again, this right here before the comma is the X value, and whatever comes after the comma is the Y value. So this will be important to be able to see. You can scroll down and see that if we're just looking at the X values, the maximum is 20, the minimum is 0. So that again, we'll get to in the assignment as well. So you'll go through, understand your data, and again, always validate the accuracy of it. So whether you want to run some of the analysis in Excel or in any other tool that you're comfortable with, if you already work in R or SPSS or anything like that, or if you can generate your own, can type out your own Python code to validate, be sure that you're checking this, even checking it in another AI tool to make sure that you're not just relying on AI when AI can hallucinate. Make sure that you save your work often. So over here in your notebook, you'll enter in information, but then file save notebook will be helpful. And so let's get started here. One of the important principles is we're asking you only submit what's necessary to answer the question. So if you have other kind of experiments in your Jupyter notebook, feel free to save that as a separate file if you want to maintain it. But when you submit your notebook to be graded, just submit what we're asking for to answer the questions. So remove any unnecessary steps, remove any errors that you fixed. So sometimes you'll get errors. Often you probably will. I'll show you what that looks like. And your AI tools will be able to help you diagnose, are those errors that you actually need to fix? Usually the answer is yes, but occasionally there's just kind of notifications of an error that pops up that doesn't prevent you from actually running the code. Finally, at the end, once you're all done, one important piece could be, again, after you save your file again, to restart the kernel and run all cells just to make sure that everything runs from top to bottom as it's written. One of the advantages of Jupyter Notebook is that you can have multiple cells here. So you might do something in a previous cell that then goes, if you type something in here, then you run that, then you run this second cell, whatever's already run in the first cell, it knows that and it will build on that. But because you can go back and forth, you can actually run things out of order. So at the end, by being able to go to restart kernel, run all cells, there it runs sequentially to make sure that your notebook is clean and in order and functions correctly. So your first task here is hello world. So what we want you to do is come up with a prompt to ask AI to generate code to print hello world and to display the version of Python that you are using. So this is our first task. We'll go in and I'll actually show you the notebook that I've already run for this project for notebook 1.1. It will generate a summary of your conversation in the chat history, and you can always go to edit to rename it. So I've renamed it notebook 1.1, so I have it. So I'm going to drag this over so I can fully see this window. And so this was my first prompt to Claude was, hello, I'm going to share some requests with you, and I want you to generate Python code for me to paste into a Jupyter notebook. Please ask clarifying questions if you need any input or clarification from me. Are you ready to begin? So that was just my introduction. You don't have to do this exactly how I did it. You can just jump in. But I do find it's helpful, even though this specific model knows our assignment description, the project description that you see here. It's already trained on this. It knows a little bit about the context of the project. I still like to kind of reintroduce it when I begin a conversation. So it knows, and as you can see, even without me telling it, it knows that here's the data is at the provided URL. It contains X and Y columns. We want to perform linear regression. This is actually something that's wrong. We're not asking it to do linear regression using PyTorch. That was, it misinterpreted something that Dr. Woodbury put into the instructions, which was saying if there are more machine learning models that we want to do, that's the model that we want to use for that, classification models. So there's our first hallucination right there. But that's okay because we're not using PyTorch today or this week. So it goes through, it's asking me some questions. Do I need help with importing the necessary libraries? What am I looking to do? And again, this is in response to me telling it to ask me clarifying questions. If you don't ask it that, if you don't invite it to do that, you probably won't get these same types of questions. So we go through and I tell it, let's just start by keeping it simple. Let's generate code that prints hello world, displays my Python version. So this right here is our first set of Python code. This is the first set where it wants you to now execute something in Python. So what you do is you copy and paste this here. Sometimes you have to click a couple times for it to show up. While it's still writing any code, this chatbot will not like you copying and pasting. So um, if it's doing a separate chunk of code, so if there's the first one here and a second one below, you'll click and you'll kind of see that it like flashes for like a split second, the check mark, and then it should be on your copy and paste in here in your clipboard. So we go through and let's actually paste this in and let's execute it. So a few ways to execute it. You can click on this go arrow under the run button. You can go to run selected cell. I am on a Mac, so I highlight, I hold down Command and hit return, and then it goes. There's multiple ways that you can execute this, and that is how I do it. And I think you actually don't even need to highlight it. Let's just see. Yeah, if you just are in the cell, it will work fine. I'm going to put this back to what I wanted it to be. I started learning programming in R, and there I'm used to highlighting everything that I wanted to actually execute. So that's what I still do here, even in Python. So this was my first output. So it shows hello world and then gives the Python version. I didn't ask it for all of this, so you're welcome to delete all of this excess information if you want. Totally up to you how you do that, but it's nice to keep it simple and have that. This print with the parentheses just gives us an extra line here. There's multiple ways that you can do that. If you know some programming, you can put in this \n, and that will do the same thing. But again, we can keep it simple, doesn't matter. If you click on this code, this blue line, that will just kind of shorten and close up some of these things here. Make sure that at the end, when you're ready to save and export your code, you have everything expanded. So be careful if you accidentally click this to expand it back out again. So you'll go through, right now, cell number one, I just finished. Perfect. Okay, so then we go on to cell number two, installing helpful libraries. So you go through kind of bullet point by bullet point, having a conversation with the AI tool about all the different parts of the assignment. And so you can see, okay, I ran this. This is explaining the code to me. It'll give some comments along the way, and then you can do with it what you want. Feel free to actually edit and play around with the code itself. As you saw that I just deleted parts that were not relevant, you are welcome to do that as well. Okay, we go through. I tell it now, explain the difference between installing libraries and importing them. So this will explain that difference because first we need to install the library on your computer, and then you need to import it into the existing project. And so you'll see how we do that. There's different ways of installing. And if you are using Jupyter Notebook here, it will tell you, okay, here's what you do here. It'll give you the code. It says it's bash code here. So if you're familiar with the terminal, using the terminal, you can do that. But one of the tricks is, and you might see an error when you do this, is that you'll need to put an exclamation mark before the line with bash. So if you ever try to install or uninstall something here, you'll see there's Jupyter's magic commands. By adding an exclamation mark at the beginning, that will then run this in Python. So that's just one thing as you go through. And as you're trying to navigate how to install for this first task, being able to just tell it, remind it you're in a Jupyter Notebook. What do I need to do? Can adding an exclamation mark help me run something in Python? So you'll go through and you'll iterate back and forth. It will it knows the context of your project, and so it will help you with that. So we go through, we eventually get to the point, and I'll pull up my actual notebook here. I've posted my code for you, so you can actually see my complete notebook. And so this was the notebook that I wound up posting to Canvas. And so you can walk through with my notebook to see exactly how I did things. But again, I already had some of these programs imported or sorry, installed on my computer. So I had them installed and then I just needed to import. If you have any of the programs installed, the libraries as well, um, as there are updates, you sometimes might need to uninstall and reinstall to be able to get things to function properly. So some of these packages I haven't used for the last 6 months or year, and so I had to go through and play around with figuring out. And part of this is you'll get errors. Some of the errors are not important. For instance, this error uh, doesn't stop me from doing anything that I need to do. It still shows me that I've installed everything successfully, all of these libraries. But you'll go through and iterate back and forth with that. And again, come to our office hours if you are running into any issues. And again, that exclamation mark before the anything with a pip will help you out as well. So you'll go through, this is the code that I use to install all of these parts. Then cell number 3 is now working with lists. So this is create a Python list with these specified numbers. Again, you'll ask your AI tool, whether it's Claude or ChatGPT. I'll show you where I went here. Again, I'm just scrolling through to find the right piece, but you can see my diagnosing back and forth over there. So this was my next prompt for this cell number 3, saying, okay, let's move on. Let's create a Python list for the following numbers containing the following numbers, and then calculate the mean. So it'll go through, it'll generate the code. Again, you take your code, you copy it, and then you paste it and run it in here. Um, it might complicate things. Sometimes it does. This gave me 3 different methods for calculating. I wound up deleting out because I didn't need all 3 of them. You really just need one. And so you can see here, I have the original list. This is the output again. It's telling me there's 6 elements in there. The Claude just decided to give me that output just as a way of verifying my data. Method number 1 that it gave me was using built-in Python. So here it was actually just using math. So it was summing up the numbers, and you can see it. You can see it here. It's just summing up the numbers. So it's the sum of the data set called numbers right here, this list, divided by the length of the list. And then it's using the built-in mean function to be able to calculate that. Versus here, we're using NumPy and being able to use this np.array, np.mean for calculating the mean. Again, as long as you're getting the right answer, that's what we're looking for here in this course, and you can validate it however you want to validate it. So again, we finish this cell number 3, working with lists. We enter the calculated mean. When you go into this week's Canvas quiz, that's where you'll then take this number, 40.8, and you will enter that in as the answer on the quiz. That way, it will tell you, did you get the correct answer before you move on to the next assignment? And again, it's quicker than Dr. Woodbury or I can be. It gives you immediate feedback. It's auto-graded, tells you, yes, you got it right. No, you got it wrong. It lets you take those quizzes as many times. We're going to let you take them as many times as you need to move on. So what I recommend doing is finish this Notebook 1.1, save that on one side of your screen, pull up the quiz, take the quiz where you'll report in certain numbers. And we tell you right here, it's not a secret. We tell you what are the numbers we want you to report on the quiz. So you can write them down on paper or however you want to do it to transfer it over. And then get your results from the quiz. Once you get 100%, you know your notebook is good to submit. So it's a way to check your results as you go. Okay, next cell number 4 is loading in data. So you'll have a conversation with AI about how do I read in data. So I ask it, explain how to read in a CSV file from a URL using Pandas. Pandas is a library specific for data management, so managing data frames and data sets. Um, and there's other tools that we'll use for uh, basic statistics as well, but Pandas is one of the more popular ones. So it gives me this explanation, shows me how to do it. Again, it already knows the URL of where our data is housed. You'll read it in, and then it shows you, okay, it's read it in and it's loaded it successfully. Tells me the shape. 100 comma 2 means how many, so 100 is the number of observations. So there's 100 observations or rows in this data set, and there are 2 columns. That's what this means. It lists out the names of the columns, X and Y, and then it actually shows me the first 5 rows. Remember, I showed you that this first row, this first observation, is not part of the data itself, but it's the headers. So the default that it did when it read this in is to take that first row and treat it as column headers. So if your data file does not have column headers, you'll need to specify that when you're having the conversation with AI. Tell it to modify the code so that it does it correctly. And the alternative would be it would have read, if I didn't have XY in here, it would think that the label of this column is 0.000000, and then Y would be 11.49, etc. So it would take this out. It would say now we have a shape of 99 comma 2 because it didn't know there was no X and Y. So this first one is not the first observation, but is now the header instead. So make sure that you have the difference between that. So we go through this next section of data is what we're asking you to do here of calculating statistical values of mean, median, and standard deviation. And again, we'll ask you then to report those values onto the quiz. Best practice is do not round until the very end. So you'll see here, I did not ask Claude to round anything in Python. I wanted the kind of more complete answer, and then I will manually round. So my first answer when I'm looking for the value of the mean, I'm going to round it to the nearest tenth. So it will be 34.7 is what this rounds to. So that's the answer that I will report on Canvas. So when you're done with your file, what you'll do, again, go to File, Save. I recommend, just for best practice, go to Restart Kernel, run all cells, just to make sure that if you changed something down below and forgot to change it up above, you still kind of get everything accurate. That's especially important if you're kind of deleting and replacing cells. Often if you run into an error, you'll then paste that error into the AI tool. It will give you a new version of the code that you had. You could even paste the code in and tell it, okay, this code returns an error, help me fix it. Here's what the actual error says. So then it'll revise it. You paste it back right into the same thing, and then it'll get rid of that error. So you go through, you save, and then what you'll do is you will do save and export as HTML. And what this does is this lets you export to an HTML document, and then this is what we'll see when we grade your assignment. We'll see this right here on Canvas. So we'll see your fully executed code and all of your outputs. So the version that you'll submit to Canvas is actually the HTML file. And that way we'll be able to see that directly in Canvas as we grade your work. Again, we want you to have these Monday and Wednesday assignments to get feedback before you're at Friday, before you're working on that Friday assignment. And that way, you know, are you on the right track? And when you need to adjust, you'll be able to fix whatever it is you need to fix. You'll come to office hours or see the immediate feedback from the quizzes that will guide you in the right direction. Again, welcome to class, and we look forward to having you this semester.